Come on, Mark, come on. Press it. You can do it. I know you can do it. Keep going, Mark. Don't give up.
Can't do any more. Must quit.
No, I think you're just about at a breakthrough. Come on, just one more rep. You can do it. Come on. Yeah.
Whoa.
See? Sometimes all you have to do is keep repeating what works. Hey, where are you going?
Find all those bullies from my middle school days.
When it comes to social media, repetition won't give you a brand new body, but done strategically can be a great traffic driver your competitors might be missing. So, Mark, over the years you've tested a lot of different social media promotion tactics. Share something with us today that stands out to you from that experience.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to, Eric. Today I'd like to focus on one particular tactic that I've seen result in a lot of traffic over time, and yet most social media managers don't bother to do it.
Really? What's that?
Well, it's the simple process of repeatedly sharing your best evergreen content on a systematic basis.
Sounds simple to do, so before we get into why we should do that, tell us why you think most social media marketers don't systematically reshare their content.
Well, I think there are at least two reasons, leaving aside just laziness, of course. For one thing, we tend to concentrate our promotional thinking around the launch of a new piece of content. That's only natural. If we've put a lot of time and effort into something, we want it to go big. We love it. We want people to share it right out of the box and love it.
So, high initial hopes cloud out long-range planning?
Yes, and that leads to the second reason why more people don't reshare their best content regularly, the all or nothing syndrome. We have this quite natural but unrealistic expectation that all our best content should go instantly viral, and if it didn't, then it's a fail.
But on the other hand, can't you overshare and risk alienating your audience?
Certainly, and that's probably an additional reason why people don't repeatedly reshare their own content on social. It's not a false concern at all, but I think as I share my strategy, that fear will be alleviated.
Okay then, but before we get into the best practices for strategic repeated sharing, explain why we would do it. What's the benefit of sharing the same content over and over?
Okay, well first, because of one simple truth about social media, especially these days. Anytime you post something on almost any social media platform, only a small segment of your audience sees it.
So if you share it only once or even just a few times, you've probably missed most of your audience?
Right. So when you reshare later, chances are good that a lot or even most of the people seeing the new post are seeing the content for the first time. Now, if you'd never reshared, they would never have seen it. And I've proven that time and again, with properly timed reshares, we consistently drive new traffic to our evergreen content. Here's a chart showing social traffic from one of our most popular posts last year. Each of the traffic spikes marked with an arrow occurred when we reshared that post on our social accounts. In late December, we even got one almost as big as we did when the post was first shared. Now the important point here is that all of that traffic would have been missed if we had just done a one and done promotion of that post. With a few exceptions, none of those individual spikes is huge, but taken together, they add up to a lot of traffic I'm happy we didn't leave on the table.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts. What do you mean by strategic repeated sharing?
Okay, so what I've found is that it's best not to do repeated sharing randomly or willy-nilly. It will be most effective when there is some strategic thinking behind it. Now first, understand that every social platform is different and you need to tailor your frequency of reposting accordingly. For example, Twitter is probably the fastest paced of the major platforms. Even with the update last year, where a selection of older tweets can be brought to the top when someone reopens their Twitter, the vast majority of the tweets have a half-life of under an hour. So you can repost more frequently on Twitter, but even there I make the posts on different days and different times to catch a different audience.
So what about Facebook?
Facebook is different because users' news feeds are much more algorithmically driven. Now that means posts can surface at any time, even many hours after being posted. And sometimes a post even from days ago can suddenly have a burst of exposure if a number of people start engaging with it. So you have to give more space between reposting of the same content on Facebook, so as not to appear to be spamming your followers.
So how would you sum up your strategic repeated sharing approach?
Well, let me close with a few best practices I've developed out of years of observing how this works. First, do repost. Don't be intimidated by the fear that you'll just be spamming. With the amount of competition for social traffic these days, you'd have to push this pretty far before you'd reach the spammer level. Now, that being said, some of the cautions I'll share next are still important. Next, spend time carefully observing the life cycle of your posts on all the social networks you use. Look at the analytics. How much activity do they actually get and for how long? Use that as a basis for formulating how often you can reasonably reshare on each network. Third, set up a list of your evergreen content for reposting. Regularly review this list to add new items and delete posts that have become stale or out of date. Set up a schedule for reposting each content piece on each of your networks. And finally, if you've got a lot of posts you want to keep in rotation, you'll probably need to make use of a tool of some sort. Now, it's beyond the scope of this video to get into specific tools for automated reposting, but whichever you choose, my main advice is keep a human eye on them. Don't just set them and forget them, but continually review how your repost strategy is working and then adjust.
Thanks, Mark. Now, isn't it time for you to hit the gym again?
Ooh, harsh.
Hey, Mark, what are you doing now?
After seeing what these weights did for my body, I figured I'd work on my brain next.
Mark, I don't think that's how it works, man.
No negative talk. Come on, coach. Coach me. Get more reps out of me. Come on.
Okay, if that's what you want. Come on, Mark. You can do it. Go for more. More reps, Mark. Push it. Push it.
Okay, brain's thoroughly worked out. Ask me anything.
What's the formula for the area of a rectangle?
Got any trivia questions?